And thank you so much for joining me for this conversation on building a business plan. As we enter into a new financial year, this is the perfect time for us to see how we can build our financial plan and what would be the best way for us to ensure that the year which is coming in is going to be the best possible one for us. So to build that particular plan, here is going to be our first conversation on building those particular basics and seeing how that particular plan will come up. So let me start by sharing with you a very fundamental part on why do we actually need a business plan. So let's start by understanding why do we actually need to build up and create a business plan. So that's the starting point. Actually, why what annual operating plan is all going to be all about, and why do we really need this one? So let's start by answering some very fundamental questions, right? So we have a very small agenda here, what we are going to cover. The very fundamentals of why we need it, what are the decisions that we take, what are specific data points that we need. So we're going to discuss a very specific template that you would be able to use in your business. And we're also going to create an action plan. We all pretty jokingly say around in the movies and everywhere that अगर आप चाहो और अगर आप दिल से चाहो तो कायनात आपको जो चाहिए वो मिला के देती है. But the question is, do you really asking the right question? अगर आप सही चीज मांग रहे हैं, सही तरीके से चीजें मांग रही है, तो ही पॉसिबल है कि आप उससे मिला आपको चीजें मिलेंगी. अगर आप उसके लिए प्लान ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप अपना बिजनेस किस तरीके से अगले साल चलाना चाहते हैं, अगर प्लान ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, so there is really no way for you to look at how those particular things would actually realize. So this is the first step of understanding why do we need the fundamentals. So let me start by this is all about me. So for last 25 years, I worked with multiple companies. I worked with corporate, with a lot of MSMEs. I have delivered multiple transformation projects, and I work with companies on various capacities. Plus, I have published 3 books and also some work on ft.com as well. So let me start by asking the very fundamental questions. Okay? Why do you really need a business plan? So let me look at something very simple, right? So like we are starting from your home और आपको कहीं जाना है. पहले तो सोचते हम सोचते चलिए जाते हैं, हम एक अपने दिल से जैसे वैसे निकल जाते हैं. दैट इज व्हाट हैपेंस अराउंड जब आप कॉलेज में होते हैं. कोई चिंता नहीं होती, हम निकल रहे, ट्रैफिक लग गया जैसे हो रहा है, जा रहे हैं, हम लोग जा रहे हैं. 5 मिनट में अगर आपको जाना है बाहर, तो पहली चीज आप चेक करिए मुझे जाना कहाँ है, मुझे जाने के लिए मेरा मैप क्या है, और इस पर्टिकुलर मैप में मुझे कहीं ट्रैफिक तो नहीं है, मैं किस टाइम पे पहुंच पाऊंगा, नहीं पहुंच पाऊंगा, कितना वक्त लगेगा, किस तरीके से जाना होगा. हम सारी चीजों को देखते हैं, सिंपल मैप चेक कर लेते हैं. अगर हमको एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाना है, यदि हम इतनी छोटी चीज के लिए भी मैप देखकर जाते हैं, तो क्या हम अपने बिजनेस के लिए नहीं सोच सकते कि हम आज जहां पर है और हमको जहां पर साल के एंड तक जाना है, हम वहां पर कैसे जाए. तो ये बहुत जरूरी है आपके लिए कि आप पहले सोचिए कि मैं ये साल जो कर रहा हूँ, जो कर रही हूँ, वो मैं सोच के करूँ, मैं देख के करूँ कि मेरा टारगेट क्या है, वो टारगेट किस तरीके से मैं अचीव कर पाऊंगा, मेरा कॉस्ट क्या होंगे, मैं उसको किस तरीके से कंट्रोल कर पाऊंगा, मेरा प्रॉफिट क्या होना चाहिए, मेरे रिस्क क्या है, मुझे क्या क्या चीजें करनी चाहिए, मैं पूरा अगर साल भर में देख पाऊँ, तो मुझे ये इस बात का एश्योरेंस रहेगा कि मैं इन चीजों को अगर कंट्रोल करूँ तो मेरा जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है मैं ऑब्जेक्टिव मीट कर पाऊंगा. दूसरा सवाल आता है कि आपको एनुअल ऑपरेटिंग प्लान कब बनाना. मेरा पर्सनल मानना है कि आपने अगर नहीं बनाया है तो आप किसी भी वक्त चालू कीजिए, क्योंकि अगर आप प्लान करेंगे तो काफी सारी चीजें आपको क्लियर होंगी. पर जब हम बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर एंड दिस इज द बेस्ट टाइम फॉर यू टू प्रिपेयर अ प्लान, क्योंकि आपके सारे बिजनेस जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, आपके सारे स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट जो है, आपके सारे जो भी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस है, सब आपको यहाँ से आप पूरे साल भर के लिए प्लान कर सकते हैं. तो प्लान करने के लिए दिस इज द परफेक्ट टाइम फॉर यू टू प्लान. व्हाट डू यू नीड? आपको अपने खर्चे प्लान करने हैं, आपको अपना रेवेन्यू प्लान करना है, आपको अपनी मैनपावर प्लान करनी है. ये सारी चीजों को जब आप एक के साथ एक जोड़ते हुए जाएंगे, तब आपको एक क्लियर आइडिया आएगा कि मुझे ये साल मेरा कैसे दिखेगा, मुझे क्या करना है और किस तरीके से करना है, किसी भी तरीके से. Usually, a lot of people believe in this back of envelope calculation. मैं इतना करूंगा तो मुझे इतना आएगा, मैं इसको पर मल्टीप्लाई करूंगा, यहाँ से करूंगा, मुझे दिखता है. शुरू करने के लिए अच्छा है. अगर आप वहीं से भी शुरुआत कर रहे हैं, कैसे भी हो रहा है, तो कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, वहां से कुछ कर रहे हैं तो अच्छा है. बट यदि आप सीरियसली करना चाहते हैं और यदि आप चाहते हैं कि आपको जो रिजल्ट एक्सपेक्टेड है वो आप इस साल ले पाए, then the best way for you to learn is to prepare a proper plan. In according to me, one of the best possible tools that you can get is Excel. Excel is very, very powerful. You can use it Excel or Google Sheet or any tool that you want to do to build a very simple plan with some very basic calculations that you can use. It's very simple and it's very effective. And I'm going to share a specific template with you that you would appreciate, that this is going to give you all that you're looking for. The question is where you should start. You can start here. So thank you so much for joining us. And this is just the beginning for you. And over the next 30 minutes or so, I would walk you through a very comprehensive way of why do you need to prepare a plan, how do you need to prepare a plan, and how it's going to work. So you're at the right place, believe me. There are fundamental decisions that you need to take as a business. The very fundamental decision that I see in this context is, are you running the business to create a value over a period of time, or do you have a business which is very transactional and you are going to just generate profit out of that particular business and use it to create wealth? Let me repeat. This is one very fundamental decision that you need to take on how you are going to build your business and how you are going to run your business. A lot of software companies, when they start building a product for a very long period of time, there's a lot of investment that happens. There are early adoptions, and some people come in, they get some particular cost. As per that, as particular product grows, then the growth is exponential. And these particular companies get acquired for a very high value because there's a potential for the product that they have built. So, क्या आप इस business में हैं जहाँ से आपके business में एक value build हो गई over a period of time, which you can realize at some point or you can sell. Or you are in a pure trading business जहाँ पे आपको ये देखना है मैं यहाँ से एक चीजें खरीद रहा हूँ, I'm selling this particular things to somebody at Y, and my profitability is Y minus X, which I need to get consistently for me to run this particular operation. So based on the nature of your business, the first thing you have to look at is how you are going to run your business. Second thing that you also need to plan during the same year is that if you need something, so should you basically invest in that particular part and get those equipment, or you can simply go and lease. Same concept goes with people also. You need to hire these people on your roll so that that becomes a fixed cost for you, or you can get those people just as and when they need. So when you create a proper plan and you realize that this is what I need to produce, this is what probably I need to sell, based on this particular selling, this is what I need to produce, and for producing this, this is the material that I need, this is the manpower that I need. You can decide whether you want to do it on your own or do with somebody else. So that gives you a great possibility for deciding what you want to do and how you want to run your business. Same thing, extrapolating that further, is also about deciding whether you want to get everything manufactured in-house or you would like to get certain things outsourced. That's also perfectly possible strategy when you are starting your business early or when you are expanding rapidly. When you are growing rapidly, or for example, say that you have a major contract, you are not sure whether the same contract is going to get repeated next year. So it may not make sense for you to put in that kind of money investing to create an infrastructure, hire those very people. It may make more sense for you to get that thing particularly manufactured from somebody else. But if that capacity is going to give you a huge advantage over your competition, it would make far more sense for you to invest, get those particular equipment, hire right kind of people, and create a best of its kind facility. So all this decision you can take when you have a right operating plan. And finally, one of the most neglected things that we see around is about the mitigation. We are not very comfortable talking about this. हम हमेशा सोचते हैं कि सब कुछ अच्छा ही होगा और हर entrepreneur यही चाहता है कि सब कुछ अच्छा ही हो. But things don't really go that way. At some point in time in your business, you actually end up in a situation where there could be certain unanticipated things that can change the way your business is running or can make you incur certain cost that will make the whole value proposition unviable. In this case, it's better to anticipate those things in advance and identify them very clearly. Let me give you some example. How much of insurance you are holding in case of whether all your people are properly insured or not, whether people operating on site are correctly insured or not, what is your cash flow, how many of the receivables, what kind of doubtful receivables that you may have. All these things are very important for us to assess right now to ensure that in case of any difficulty, we have got ourselves covered. So we will discuss how you can anticipate some of those risks, map those particular risks, and prepare a mitigation plan for that. So let's see if we have all those things rightly aligned with us and we have those data points or we work on this particular. How many of you have actually seen this particular setup? We can comment on the community here and we can basically see what's happening here. We all have seen it, right? I can also show you another creative version of this. So people are always anticipating what more can happen, There are always things that keep on building up what is happening. A lot of times what we realize is that when we want to create a plan, unless all of you are going to come and discuss the things together, people tend to create plan for themselves. So the production will have certain plan based on what their priorities are, what their previous experiences are. Sales may have a little different view of how things are going to move. The quality will look at the things from a different perspective. So unless all of you are going to come together and build a very comprehensive picture for the organization in the year to come, you will find it very difficult to say things. That's why it's very important for you that you bring all the stakeholders, everyone who is required in this particular business, but in your business, to come together and build one solid, comprehensive and operating plan. You have seen that, right? So let me see certain questions. Okay, so Mayur, I'm going to answer this question in detail. The template that you would see also factors the market changes for what are going to happen and how you would be able to make a change over there. That's pretty much factored. So now first thing that I want to start is basically looking at with something that we believe is a data. Because the foundation of building this particular plan is data. So this particular part is the part what we are seeing currently is the how we are getting the whole part in terms of the data, right? So to begin with, the first thing that we are looking at is the so-called information. Okay. Now, information is practically everything. So we live in a world of WhatsApp University, wherein there are practically thousands of messages, or maybe even a few lakhs. It's election time. So there are hundreds of messages reaching out to your mailbox practically everywhere. Right? So much of information, some on this side, some on the other side. So compared to that, the truth is somewhere in between, right? But it's all kind of information which is coming in. So even in your business, do you have the actual data set which is available, or you just have the information कि sir शायद इतना हो गया होगा? I think that probably for making this particular product, the vendor may require 8 hours, the fitter may need about 10 hours, or in case of service, probably the travel time will be about 4 hours. So every day my service team travels for 4 hours, they work for 4 hours. It's all kind of a generic information that you get, right? You need a very authentic information for you to make any kind of plan. So what you need here is the right information coming in from the correct sources, and that particular information has to be duly validated for us to ensure that we get the right insights coming onto this particular part. So if somebody is saying that, okay, this is the data point that we need, you can go and simply ask, why? How do you know this particular part? Are you sure about what the information is going on? And you can also go and check with them in the overall context. Usually for in India, a lot of magic happens around March. Right? Most of the companies tend to go with very high numbers in the month of March, and that gives you a very specific high number that you see particularly in the month of March. So do you want to take the month of March as the benchmark for you to do everything, or do you really need to see that if we are able to get the right set in terms of what has happened throughout the year? So you need to set context of what has happened. The other part which is very important for you is also to see how relevant is the information. Because if I say that, okay, one particular business is growing at a certain level, and I see that particular business expanding at, say, about 30%, and you get that particular information that, okay, this particular line has the opportunity to provide 30% year on year. Is it really going at 30%? And just because they are growing at 30%, would you also be able to grow? Let's take an example of automotive industry. The automotive industry with its conventional IC engines had a very good long run what they're operating, right? Now we are talking about the new generation vehicles which are not more on the EV, we are talking about the hydrogen, hybrid, all this particular thing. The moment you talk about an electric vehicle, everybody was manufacturing the engines to all the components for engines is now out of business, right? The whole traction of how we are moving and how we are controlling the speed was very different compared to how we are doing that today. That's important. And the last and the very critical part is you also need to understand what is the lifespan of that particular information. Usually, a dated information. So the question that was coming in the chat here was also around how do you look at changing scenarios during the year. So when we have a very dynamic world, right? I don't want to use the jargon, but a VUCA word in certain way. In that particular case, how do we ensure that we have the right set of information coming to us at the right time? Because if that information is not relevant and you prepare a plan on this particular part, you are going to get in trouble. So very important for you to ensure that you get that information in time. Okay. Now, I'm going to share with you a template, and that particular template, in my honest opinion, will give you a great platform to start your financial year. Okay? You will be able to get some very good insights on where your business looks like, how things would go, how everything will go right in your business. But there is an expectation, and that particular expectation that you have to be truthful. If you don't get your numbers right and you are not honest with how you are going to run your own numbers and your own simulations for this particular part, it's going to be garbage in, garbage out. So applicability of this particular template and the work is completely going to be dependent on how honest you are with your own self while preparing this particular part, preparing this particular plan. And if you are going to get your team involved, please give them the confidence that you expect nothing but a very honest data points for you to make the right decisions. That's it. So before we get into this particular part, let me get into this particular part. We look at only the input and the implementation, and then we get into the rest. Before I get into this, let me understand if you all are comfortable with the data points so far. Are there any specific queries that you have? Are there anything that you would like me to cover till this point in time? Any doubts that you have? Any queries that you would like to take in the platform? You can ask that in the question, and I will be very happy to answer it. Anything specific that you have in mind till this point in time? Fair? A couple of months that I missed. I'm sorry. Oh my God, I missed out on them. I'm so sorry. I'm just going through this. How to ensure the annual operating plan promotes innovations and fosters a culture of continuous improvement? Very good question here, Aisha. I would try and share some of the points that would come. I believe that those particular points would give you some insights on how we would be able to do that. I hope that point would come in. And if I'm not covering that particular thing at the end of this particular part, please feel free to remind me I covered to this particular point. Risk and improvement, Nilesh, I have a specific section dedicated to this that we will discuss. EOP components we are going to discuss. Okay, I think it's a very valid point of using the communication or reaching out to different people. That has a lot of implications, honestly, in terms of doing that. I have always believed that the best way to communicate the annual operating plan is by a direct way of communication, taking all your stakeholders in one location and telling them that this is what you plan to do for this particular year. Get them involved in the planning as well, so that they feel involved and they come up with far better insights on how things have to actually work in the business. That I have seen that to be a very a good policy, and I have seen a lot of success in this particular part. So I would always recommend going that particular way. Progress of yearly plan, Siddesh, will come down to this particular part on the implementation. I think that once you look at this particular template, you would have a very clear idea on how you can track that throughout the year as well. So we'll take it up there. Technology, Anand, what I've seen, execution plan, something working really well then, is that if you put this particular thing in a template or in a Google Sheet where you have to keep a tracker and let people fill it up year on year, I think that works well. Based on your questions, that would be the first one that I'll answer on setting the goals particular part. So let me start by sharing the template with you, okay? And then we'll build it up on how it's. This is where we start. We do some very basic data points that you need to look at when you are creating the template. This is a template that I'm trying to share with all of you. This will be the link in the group as well, that you will be able to see what's going to happen. Some basic information around your business, what they're doing, how it's going to work out. And also, I would like you to look at some of these points here. Okay? Particularly from the revenue, what is the product that you have sold? What has been your sale this particular year? What is the percentage of revenue? And the last one is wherein I would like all the entrepreneurs to spend a good amount of time. First 3 points, it would be very easy for you to get it from your billing system, which is the top one, what you have sold, which is the highest sold product, what you have sold, the percentage will come automatically out of this particular part. You need to understand this particular product is going to work for a few more years, or this particular thing is somewhere, I think, a short-term opportunity here. This is probably going in just for about a year or two, but beyond that, I would need something different to work. So if that is the case, it would be pretty important for you to look at saying that, okay, this is just for about 2 years and I need something more. Okay? So the question that I wanted to look at from the innovation perspective, I think this is where you need to really start thinking on what am I what am I selling today? Could be a product or service. Does it really have that kind of a lifespan, or it's going to have a limited time span, and probably I need to start building something more than that. So that's the first point in time where you would start seeing the thing on this particular part. The second part is a little trickier. That's purely in terms of plotting your cost. Okay. So usually in your business, if you have certain products and there's a fixed material cost that you can get against that, please write it down very clearly. It is if it is there. If it is like say you are more of a services company, you would have the manpower cost aligned to each of the services that you can write. I have kept it only at the top three just to keep the template simple. You can take it to any number of level, say about 5, 6, 10. But usually, in my experience, max it should be about 10. I haven't really seen businesses which have more than 10 part, and there are, but they are at a very different scale. Right? Comparatively, it would be better to identify some of the top things that you want to focus on. Maybe 3, 5, or max about 10 is what you should focus on and write this part. Now, the material cost, again, you know what you have purchased, so you will get it, right? Manpower is again tricky because मेरा आदमी ये भी करता है, मेरा बंदा ये भी करता है. This is what my team is capable of delivering. But you need to spend some time to identify if there is a correlation. If there is no correlation, you want to put the whole manpower cost in one particular thing. That's also fine. But try and see if there is an opportunity for you to identify if there is some alignment that you can make. Because that will give you a lot of insights on which are the kind of sources that you need to build for next year. The other things, office cost, your admin cost, interest. I would like you to take some time to write these numbers very, very realistically. When we take this thing, the plan forward, you will realize why I'm requesting you to get into all this video. I don't want this everything to be put into single thing called overheads. This is unfortunately a challenge, right? सबको एक साथ क्लब कर देते हैं, मतलब हमारा पूरा ओवरहेड. ओवरहेड कब आपके सर पे आके आपको लेके डुबाएगा ना पता भी नहीं चलता. That's very important for you to see that all those particular things are very, very properly bifurcated. Secondly, all of you who are running a partnership firm or a LLP or even a private limited firm, my request is that please take a proper enumeration and show that as an expense in your business. अगर आप कहीं बाहर जाके कुछ नौकरी कर रहे हो तो you would have got some monthly part, right? So there is no need for you to deprive your family of that particular comfort that they can get out of getting certain regulation for it. So certain monthly income. Okay? So keep a specific part. Keep this particular thing which is going, which keeps your personal side comfortable, and you will be able to do far better job on your business. Okay? And then the marketing expenses. So this particular part is what you will get as a basic thing, right? Now you have got your the basic data, revenue, cost. I want to come to the risk. आज की डेट में ना, I've written only 4, but I can give you another 10 comfortably. The first thing that we need to look at from the business perspective is that what are the receivables that you have? I've just made a very simple calculation so that it's easier for me. Like say if your receivables are 2 lakhs and your monthly sales is 4 lakhs, which means that practically you are operating with a 4-month cycle. So do you really need to operate with that? The same thing will actually even see a very direct correlation between your receivables and vendor payment. Because you are not getting the money, you will not be actually paying others. So you would also see your payables getting stretched. और अगर आप नहीं कर रहे हो तो इसका मतलब आपने अपना ही पैसा इतना लगा के रखा है बिजनेस में कि ना तो क्लाइंट आपको पैसा दे रहा है ना तो आप वेंडर का पैसा रोक रहे हो, and you are actually running somebody else's business with your own, which is also a tricky one. So ideally, you should be able to establish some kind of a correlation with that. So there are 2 different risks. So there are certain lot of other risks that you can take, particularly in terms of your insurance, your stock levels, whether there's an aging which is happening, right? Receivables, and we have looked at it. So there are relevant insurances that you can take, whether your manpower related insurance, your site related insurance, threat related insurance, fire and accidental, various kind of policies that exist, and whether you have done that, whether you are getting those policies or not, is also something that you can factor. But there are 2 different things that I want you to look at. Okay? The first is your own product side. I think it's very important for you to see where your product stands, because we are going through a very, very turbulent time. Not turbulent may not be the right word, but we are going through a very fast evolution cycle. So the consumer preferences are changing very fast, and there is always some or the other innovation coming in. So with this particular part, does your product have a sufficient life cycle or not, is something that you need to figure out. And also we need to look at how the industry is evolving. We just looked at the example of the automotive industry. Right? The industry is growing, sorry, but certain set of people may not be able to grow. So what's happening in your industry, how your industry is changing, that's you need to look at it. Two things which I haven't documented, but you may like to look at is also about the geopolitical situation which is happening and how things are looking around. Okay? So this is the base set of information that gives you a good thing to think, right? Just about your business, get a perspective. And the moment you fill this thing in, it will automatically get into a very basic template about your life. Now, what we are going to do is that this particular number that has come through is straight away by distributing all the costs that you have had in your input, and I have simply distributed that throughout the year. Okay? That's your baseline. So that's your baseline in terms of cost and the expenses. Okay? So I haven't done any particular thing here. So I just basically got it in that okay, यहाँ से यहाँ तक गया. So you have visibility of what usually will happen in your business. Not many businesses are that kind of have a linear business model, right? So all of you would have some particular months wherein there would be probably a higher number of businesses, some particular higher revenue, and some businesses, some particular months wherein the revenue will be lower. So this particular data point gives you the one particular part. You can change the figures based on your business and your business cycle. But that's going to determine the last two things which are very important for you. So revenue minus all your costs is the profit that you get. The important bit that's going to come down here is the cash flow. You need to be very mindful. Currently, this particular whole thing is started with a 30-day expectation that probably my collection, if I'm getting in a month. So if you're getting your collection, say about 2 months late or 3 months late, accordingly you can change the plan and you will be able to getting the data at those specific points. So this gives you your basic cost, your profit, and your cash. Now, the next part that will come, simple, right? So how many people you have, what's the salary? You just do a basic manpower cost. And similarly, you can also do some work for the contractual labor if you need on what's happening. So that's you can get with manpower. And then this is where you should actually start playing with the numbers. What I would like to do the scenario. Now this sheet, you can multiply any number of times if you fetch the basic data and you will be able to create multiple scenarios here. Okay. You can create a scenario wherein your revenue is going to say go up by 10% or by 20% or by 30% and then see how things will move. So if your revenue goes by 20%, your cost go by 10%, what would happen? If your revenue goes up by say about 40% and your cost go up by 30%, what would happen? Are you able to change that? If this is a particular case, you want to go for a new office, what would happen? If you need to go and take a specific loan, you need to factor in the interest and the loan repayment here. So everything that you will be able to build around your business, you would start seeing here one. So this is their simulations. One part, you have the revenue, cost, your expenses, and then straight away you will also be able to see the impact. Now the reason why I want to see this till the cash flow is a lot of times we end up losing the opportunities if we don't have the right cash flow with us. Okay? Or we take certain particular part and we are not able to execute because we never thought through the cash flow cycle. So that's why it's important for you to put in your own numbers and take the whole thing with the cash flow for you to get right. Now that brings us to the final bit, which is now here the same data points are copied here. You know, this is what I'm going to target, what I'm going to come. I would now decide like you to look at what's your unit price. Okay. And based on that, identify how many customers you would require to achieve that particular target. And then write down how you're going to get those customers first. Very important for it is that then you have a lot of strategies that you can play, right? अगर मेरा मुझे लगता है कि मुझे एक revenue चाहिए, 100 revenue चाहिए, मेरा unit price 10 है, तो मुझे 10 customers चाहिए. I can go physically and get those 10 customers and do particularly a B2B case, right? If your revenue say you need 100, say you need a revenue of 1,000 and you are going to get 1 rupee per customer, you need to get those 1,000 customers, then you are playing the volume game. So for volume game, the plan to reach those particular customers will be different. Within the same business, you can have a premium value offering that you are offering to one particular set of clients. That particular product will have a different strategy. The others, which are more consumer oriented or say entry point, low cost, high volume products, they will have a different strategy. So you can print all of them, right? And then based on the final scenario that you have created and the values that you give, you can also start and identify if you would be able to work on any of the cost. Is there a possibility for you to reduce that particular cost by saying that in case of A, for the material cost, I go and use a substitute. Okay, that brings my cost down. Instead of a manual work that I'm doing, I bring in a machine and that gives me higher productivity. My cost per component will go down. My investment will go up, right? But my cost in the conversion will go down. My manpower cost will not go in proportion with the resources that I need. So you will be able to play everything around this particular part to see how you will be able to change. And based on this particular part, how you will be able to make an impact. And the final component here, what we are going to discuss is on the risk. Receivables and your vendor development, both of them have a direct impact on the cash flow. And you need to prepare a plan on how you are going to recover faster, how you are going to ensure that your vendor payments are aligned with your customer payments. You are able to do that. The product life cycle has a direct impact on your business survival. And your industry cycle also has a direct impact on your business. Plus, based on the business that we have, could be geopolitical situation, could be local geographical situation, could be purely a manpower situation. There could be hundreds of different factors that could come in which are relevant to your business and you should plot. I don't want to get your mindset by looking at all the risks. I just want you to be very cautious about 10 things that you need to be worried about, not even worried, sorry, wrong word. 10 things that you need to be mindful about to ensure that you are able to achieve what you have planned for this year. I hope this particular thing made sense for you. And we can now discuss the specific questions that you have, and we can now see. Any specific source? So did this particular thing make sense? Any other specific things that you thought that needed the attention that I missed out? First yearly plan, Mohit. It's all about anticipating the things. Okay? I appreciate that you may not have all the data points correctly with you, but you can bring in those particular parts, create. And the beauty of Excel at this particular part is that you can create a baseline for yourself, and then you can keep on changing that as you need throughout the year. So you don't really need that particular plan is not something carved in the stone kind of a thing. It's always a work in progress. But you have a certain benchmark to compare yourself against. So if you have assumed that I'm going to reach out to 100 people to do this particular number, or even to get a market feedback, then you can compare whether I reached out to 100 people or not. If I reach out to only 50 people, probably the response could be that maybe the reason why you're not getting the response. Or it could be other way around that the 50 people also are giving you the adequate response. So you don't really you are not required to reach out to 100 people itself. So these are the corrections that you would be able to do throughout the year. But the thing that you would need to do throughout the year is basically start mapping it. And the advantage of getting multiple stakeholders right at the beginning when you are creating this particular plan is that you would be able to get everybody to agree to those things. I'll be honest with you. Currently, one of the challenges that I have seen in this part is that if it is only about the management who is preparing certain plan and then they are preparing the plan, people feel that this is something that is forced on them. But if you have set of people who are coming together and building a particular plan, then they are also aligned to or committed to that particular objective. Like say a purchase person decides that, okay, I want to look at 10 different vendors this year and see which are the components when I can reduce the cost. Or a purchase person says, okay, I'm going to work on the working capital side when I'm going to have back-to-back terms with the client. Sales people come and say, okay, I need to see if I can get something around the bill discounting to improve my cash flow. So multiple people can play a very significant role in getting the overall picture complete for the organization. So that's why it's important to get all the stakeholders aligned and let the particular thing be used as a regular way for you to track your performance. Does that answer your question here? So what we had proposed is that particularly as a part of this session that we are going to conduct, we are going to offer 5 different companies an opportunity to work with us and see how we would be able to, if we can help you with your annual operating plan. So here is a link that I'm going to share in the group, and you will be able to use this particular link to register yourself, and the team will get back to you on how you can go and participate in this particular plan. The template is going to be shared in the group anyway, so you would have the template with you. This is going to be a drive link, and you would be able to download the template from the drive and you can use it. If you would like to become part of this exercise, which is going to restrict you to the 5 companies to begin with, we would have would like you to fill in this particular form, and we'll get in touch with you regarding how we can do a specific exercise with you for explaining this template to you again, and then subsequently working with you to ensure that you have a comprehensive annual operating plan for this year. Awesome. I'm going to share the template link with you in about another 10 minutes or so. So if there are no more questions, I think we should close the conversation right now. Thank you so much for your time and joining me for this session. I hope I was able to create value for you and help you appreciate the significance of building an annual operating plan. And the template that I'm going to share with you would make sense for you. Would be very happy to work with you and make that particular plan a success for all of you. So looking forward to the responses to our Google form and our approach or our proposal to build those particular plans with you. Looking forward to the response to that particular part, and we'll be more than happy to answer any queries on this particular part in the community itself. Thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to making this particular financial a great success for all of you. So.